I'm here with Representative Rashida Tlaib, and we were just joining you and Senator Bernie Sanders at a food pantry in your district. You were talking about how the city's giving tax breaks to football stadiums. By the way, the Lions just beat my Giants, so a little sad about it. But anyway, but that your constituents, they get their water shut off if they don't pay 10 cents, if they pay 10 cents less than their actual bill. He was very empathetic about it. Can you talk about how your community and your constituents responded to him? Because we know how you feel about him, but how did they respond to him today?
Yeah, I think a lot of my residents just want to feel believed that they've been left out. They want to feel believed that everybody keeps saying everything's going so well economically in our country, that things are getting better. And they're trying to say, no, it's not. It's actually gotten worse for us at home here in the neighborhoods. Yes, downtown in the 7.2 miles is what we call it, is getting all this investment and these big tax giveaways and the shifting of resources away from schools and neighborhoods into just this one neighborhood that's helping billionaires. They're helping for-profit entities make more money while the human suffering still continues, not only through water shutoff, but we even heard from young people talking about like the school that we're in right now, Cass Tech, doesn't have clean drinking water, and that they had to fight so hard to get it tested themselves, but also to get these hydrogen stations in their hallways. It is really, people are taken aback by the fact that folks come in and say, look, this economic development's great, let's do this. Again, for mega billionaires, from Dan Gilbert to the Illich family to others that get in line, and when they ask for all this, they're giving it to them with no accountability. And then we get stuck with, parking lots for parking for $40, $50. And we get stuck with the asthma. We get stuck with cancer. We get stuck with, dirty water. We get stuck with poverty increasing, foreclosure crisis. We get stuck with all of these things that are resulting in human suffering for our families.
Yeah, and just talking about basic human needs, Medicare for All is something you've been supportive of. Senator Sanders has been supportive of. I saw someone like Pete Buttigieg, he basically said that Medicare for All, Sanders and Warren supporting it, infringes on people's freedoms. Mm-hmm. When you're going to a community like this, where healthcare is certainly not guaranteed for your constituents, how do you respond to a statement like that?
Well, I can tell you, our residents, we're in the front lines of what doing nothing looks like, from the healthcare system to what's going on with our climate crisis. And residents are not being easily gaslighted to believe that that's what it's about. They believe, and this is something that, that's why Medicare for All is so important, is they understand how inhumane our healthcare system is in this country. The fact that people are dying because they're poor. Yeah. And that alone is enough for them to understand whatever Pete and others are saying about this issue. They're not believing it. They understand right now what's happening in the for-profit healthcare system is just killing people. And that is the reality that they live with every single day. And so folks on the national stage, folks that want to go ahead and make people believe that Medicare for All is about these values or this values,
or infringing on freedom, which is a right-wing talking point.
Absolutely,
right?
But that's the thing. They're saying that these values, that's his value, right? But we all know, what are you talking about? We want a freedom to live.
Our values are our lives.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the thing that, folks like that can say it, but it shows just how disconnected they are with the majority of American people right now that don't have access to healthcare, and to be able to live without worrying about, how are they going to find the money for their insulin? How are they going to find the money for their kids to get the healthcare that they need? And all these things that, again, is wrapped up into a broken healthcare system.
And when you talk about representing people, regular people, I think all of that starts with how you get your campaign funds. So you only took small dollar donations. You were a Justice Democrat. Senator Sanders is running on just small dollars. He's not doing big money donors. Can you talk about how that informs both of your values and why you've been supportive of him?
Yeah, I mean, this movement around, look, anybody that wants to take away the tainting of our democracy and give it back to the people, it has to start with them being our partners in this public service, in transforming our country. And it is individual donations that is going to do that, not corporate PACs.
And that's why, sorry to interrupt, but that's why you've also co-sponsored HJ2, House Joint Resolution 2, right? That you can expand on that a little too, if you'd like.
Mean, look, we were pushing away against, Citizens United,
right?
And these proposals we put forward, it does that. But these, for a lot of my colleagues, it's not just about supporting that; it's also living it now, showing the people that it is possible. I won an election where I was the only candidate in the race that didn't take corporate PAC money, and I won. I won against establishment candidates, against those that were being supported by, very well-known organizations, community groups, and folks that believe that's the pathway to getting public service and folks to represent them. And then folks realize, no, we can't afford a sellout. We can't afford just any person. We have to have someone there that is not going to be bowing down to corporations, bowing down to the for-profit kind of entity that is right now completely bleeding out our school aid fund, bleeding out all the services that we need to combat poverty in our country.
Yeah, and lastly, Senator Sanders is obviously of Jewish descent. Your parents are Palestinian immigrants, and you've been outspoken about BDS and Palestinian rights. What is the significance for you in also combating that ridiculous media right-wing narrative about you endorsing a Jewish candidate of being of Palestinian descent and being a Muslim yourself?
Yeah. I think, it's beyond that for me and Senator Sanders. We were in the car and I was telling him my dad only went up to 4th grade education. He was born in Palestine, from Nicaragua, came here at 19 years old. And he said, my dad also dropped out of high school. And we began our story, and at that moment we kind of looked at each other. Yeah, he's Jewish, I'm Muslim. Yeah, my parents were from Palestine, and his parents came here, for the same better opportunity. I think it's that connectivity and that human story that I think draws us together in understanding that our neighbors everywhere across this country deserve the same possibility. The fact that he and I are now, look at us, we looked at each other today. He goes, yes, there's a big age difference, but look where we've gotten, even though our parents weren't able to get access to those opportunities, right? They saw their children get access, and look what it took them. And we haven't forgotten where we came from. And that's, I think, really important, that we both really haven't forgotten just how far we've gotten, where our roots are. We haven't forgotten where our roots are. We haven't forgotten really where we came from. And that's the incredible story I think doesn't get told, is not that, I'm proud Palestinian American, he's a proud person of Jewish faith. It is more about the shared value of making sure that it's possible for other people to achieve what we've been able to achieve. But we also realize from our own experiences, our parents' experiences, just how much, their life was disenfranchised because of structural racism, because of different kinds of processes and policies that are in place that made it so much more difficult for them. It should not be this hard for people to have access, to be able to thrive. We shouldn't be living among cities that don't have clean drinking water. For folks that come out of their home and just cannot breathe clean air because of a mega petroleum refinery company there funding petroleum coke to the Koch brothers. It is this these ideals I think that he and I share that connects us more than anything. And it just so happens I'm Muslim, and it so happens he's Jewish. But that's, I think, even more special that we came together on that. African-American pastor said in my district, Pastor Bland Jr., he said, we're not a country that is divided, we're a country that's disconnected. And I feel like that in so many ways about what Bernie represents in myself. There's this connectivity there of our shared stories, of where we came from and where our roots are, and where we want to see our nation go.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.